Welcome to Podcast Awesome, where we chat about icons, design, tech, business, and nerdery with members of the Font Awesome team.
Font Awesome, go make something awesome. Font Awesome, go make something awesome.
I'm your host, Matt Johnson. In this podcast, we catch up with members of the Font Awesome team to talk about our biannual company meetups, which are affectionately called the Snuggle. We talk about the purpose and origin of the Snuggle and the reason for its ridiculous name.
Font Awesome, go make something awesome. Font Awesome, go make something
One of the great things of kind of keeping the positive vibes of the culture and the team intact and keeping people connected, we do these quarterly things, or we try to, at least in non-COVID times. Quarterly, we get together and do the Snuggle. Love the name of the Snuggle. Travis, if I'm remembering, well, you tell the story of the Snuggle, how the name came about. That's good stuff.
Oh man, if I remember right, I think, well, when it was just the four of us, we would get together. Two people lived in Boston, two people lived in Missouri. Every other quarter, we would go spend time there, and we'd go out to a place on the Cape, and we called them the Cape Cuddles for a while. And I don't remember how it became.
It partially
Snuggle.
is that like it is such an absurd word
I think that's really what it
for
is.
adults to use
Yeah.
for something that is work related and like very work. You know, like right, like.
It should be the quarterly sync, people.
Yeah.
Right, and in an effort to like to make fun of and make fun of businessiness to begin with, right? To make fun of businessing to begin with, let's go with like an absolutely ridiculous name for this, right? Because here's why too, is that this ridiculousness is actually what this is about. That we know from experience, from intuition and from experience, that the best remote work happens when it is foundationally based on in-person human relationships, right? That you need to build those face-to-face. The way that we are wired as human beings, we need to be face-to-face for some amount of time, right? Introverted, extroverted, right? You might be a different thing that gives you energy or not, right? In the meantime, but the way that we actually connect and bond with other human beings, right? The way that we can actually have that trust when we're going to be working remotely. We think remote work enables so much.
Here's Rob Madole, Font Awesome's principal software engineer, reflecting on the trade-offs between remote and in-office work.
Obvious thing we're comparing is remote work versus in-office work. Before COVID, it was kind of more of a controversial thing. There was a lot of, and actually Y Combinator said that you can't do remote. They really discouraged that. But Dave and Travis did it anyway, kind of despite what they said. What I think you gain from remote work and from setting up your company in that fashion is there is a level of focus that you can get by not being distracted in an office all day. If you leverage that well, then you can accomplish a lot and you can move forward as a company. People can grow and get better in their craft. You can get work done. I truly think that remote work is a great way to enable that. The trade-off is that you now get disconnected from the people that you're working with. It's a lot easier for them to become a resource or someone that will do the thing you don't want to do or can't do. And now we're, in the name of accomplishing work and getting stuff done, we're not getting that human thing, that thing that we have identified as so important. That's one of our core values, is treating each other well and taking care of each other. Well, remote work it works against that. It took me a while to realize Dave would always expound the value of those. And then the first few, I would be annoyed because I want to get work done. And Dave is making me come to whatever place we're doing this. And I have to spend a week with everybody away from my family. And I hate, but eventually I came to agree with him and realize that what we're doing is that we're reseeding the relationships and strengthening those so that we can actually go back and get work done without beginning to treat each other poorly. Because if we never saw each other, if we never got to empathize and care for each other and say, you know, how you doing and how are things going? If that care wasn't there, then what are we? We're just another one of the soulless companies that use people to make money.
It enables me to live where I think is right. It enables me to live in the country, live in the city, live in San Francisco, live in the middle of nowhere, right where I grew up. And you get to make the choice for what you think is right. You get to, you know, the way that we work, if you're gonna, you need to go and run an errand for anything, right? As long as somebody's not waiting on you for something, whatever, which is almost never, like, just let people know and then go do it. There's no, like, we don't worry about, we're not, nobody's tracking what you're, how much you're there. We're seeing the product of what you do, right? So in order to do that work well, we know that we have to get together in person for these things. And so calling them the Snuggle is also a way to make fun of and joke about and be ridiculous. Right?
Just it's you know, one of the things we like to think about ourselves is, you know, is humility and sharing our nerd, and another one's delivering the punchline and just being able to not take ourselves too seriously, and to be able to laugh. And I remember calling it, you know, we're going to have the Snuggle, and I remember my wife like looking at me like, wait, what did you call that? It's like, the Snuggle. And she's like, oh, you have to change that name. And that just told me that it was ridiculous enough.
That's right.
That it needed to stay. And yes, we know it can have, you know, different connotations. We know that, you know, snuggling, we're not actually getting together and snuggling, and that's not what this thing means. We're just basically making fun of ourselves.
Yeah.
And it then seemed to resonate with the team, you know, and it's just like, we're going to go to the Snuggle. And when you tell, you know, it's become, it's become a commonplace that I start hearing people, you know, talk about their friends like, oh, we're going to go meet for our Snuggle. And everybody's like, wait, what? What is this?
And it's such a ridiculous, name.
Ridiculous.
It's got this great side effect where you kind of now have to tell the story.
Yeah, you got to tell the story.
Right? Have to tell the story now.
Here's Rob again.
Yeah, it's a slightly embarrassing word, right? Once you join Fun Awesome and you're part of the crew, you internalize it really quickly from an outside perspective. And I've explained this to people before, and I'm always hesitant to use the word snuggle because it sounds a little creepy, honestly, right? Yeah. I don't know how you felt when you first heard it, but
I thought it was really funny.
You thought it was?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So in humor is a very big part of what we are at Fun Awesome. Everybody has got a sense of humor. We love humor. Delivering the punchline is, you know, kind of one of our core values. So, but from the outside, it sounds weird.
Yeah.
When we explain it, it's a short period, a week, when we all come together and we get to do these things. We get to reconnect. The reason it's called a snuggle is a bit tongue in cheek because we want to recognize that this is not a normal thing. We don't do these like quote unquote normal companies do them. It's not just a hotel lobby and a hotel conference room where we get together and the CEO stands up and tells everybody what to do, or, you know,
charts and graphs.
Charts and graphs. It really is a investment in our relationships and checking in just to see how, you know, everybody's doing and really form those bonds that keep things going like we think they should.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You said we don't get together and actually snuggle, right? But what we do is we get together. It's a way of recognizing that when we get together, we're obviously going to do lots of work stuff, right? We're going to do planning. We're going to do, you know, how's the company doing, right? We're going to do and talk about all these things. We're going to get together and do the things that you can do best in person: collaboration, brainstorming, a whole bunch of stuff that you can do pretty well remotely, but you can really do well with everybody in the room, to look in the eyes and see what people are like. Is somebody really sharing? Are they holding back? What's the body language? All that kind of stuff, right? We can do that better there. So we're going to do that, but it's the recognizing that the priority here is not that. The priority here is the other person sitting across the room from you, actually genuinely hearing them and making sure that, just paying attention all along the way, having side conversations, right? So much of this is downtime between stuff. We don't have the water cooler, right? And so when we all get together, the whole, you know, share your nerd. What are the things outside of work that you've been doing? I'm convinced that the most substantive pieces of company culture come from everything somebody is outside of the workplace. Mm-hmm. Everything that they do and they bring with them from home is where the richness and depth of culture at a company can come from, right? So we've got cycling nerds, right? We've got nutrition nerds. We've got, as you might expect, Lord of the Rings nerds. We've got Star Wars nerds. We've got people who are
Marvel
design
nerds.
nerds, right? What was it?
Marvel nerds, keyboard nerds.
Okay. Oh, keyboard nerds. That's a fun one. That's fun.
D&D nerd. I mean, we
Harry Potter nerds.
Harry Potter nerds.
We just
Right.
have
Some
it
of these
all.
are expected, right? But you might not expect that like somebody could be like an exercise or a nutrition nerd, right? But it's the same process of going deep and learning everything about something to figure out how to do it best, right? How do I do this better and better and better and better every single day? Not because it's like this, oh, I'm not a good enough person unless I do it, because it's there and it's exciting and it's fascinating and oh, how do I do it better?
Right.
That's what a nerd is. When we say nerd, that's what we mean, right? It's this kind of passion that if you meet somebody, you meet a stranger, you have learned in life not to talk about those things with them, right? You've learned not to share that. We want to be a company where you are comfortable to share those things right off the bat, right? And you know, normally in society, you know, you get somebody else you're talking to, and they might actually start asking, and you kind of lean back a little bit, right? You're leaned back, and if they keep asking enough, then they hit that breaking point where you lean in and you tell them all about this amazing thing, and isn't it amazing, and it isn't so great, and look at this, look how amazing and wonderful and beautiful this thing is, and how can you not appreciate this, right?
Yeah.
That's what art is, right? That's what going to a museum is, where you can go and you can look and share this thing of beauty with somebody else. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's meant to be shared.
And we get together and we get to rebuild relationships and give people the benefit of the doubt. And, you know, when a lot of your medium is through, you know, a text interface, maybe you lose some context or you're not quite sure what somebody meant, you can get together and go, oh yeah, I remember these people are awesome and I love working with them, and you get to rebuild that. So it's almost like we emotionally snuggle.
Right. Yeah, you can't really like grind an axe when you're standing next to somebody making chocolate chip cookies, you know.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the problem. Honestly, it's the problem of technology and social media, right?
Yeah.
The lack of looking somebody else in the eyes and having any sort of history whatsoever to soften it and to recognize this is another human that you're talking to here.
Yeah, we love snuggles.
We love snuggling. It's lovely. We're doing one right now.
We love the
You just
snuggles.
can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, how's it going this time? We had to cancel a few of them because we're in COVID times. You want to make sure it was a safe time to meet. How did they start? How are they going now? Is it still a good cadence for Fun Awesome?
Yeah, we often look at that and revisit that. And, you know, when you're in a worldwide pandemic, what does that mean? And so, yeah, we had to miss some. And you could feel it.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of, it's like, oh man, I was really looking forward to that. I really needed to meet, you know, see these people again. I miss them. And then when you finally get to do it, and we made sure we just kept on top of things, made sure we could make it as safe as possible for everybody. And then, you know, we got to meet, and it was just like, oh, this is amazing. So much so that, like, by the end, you're probably the most exhausted in work versus the other times when we don't meet, just because there's just a lot of emotion and just a lot of goodwill. We have 2 late night hangout times where we just like play games or D&D, or we do cocktails, or, you know, smoke cigars and talk around the fire. I mean, we just do whatever. And
Share in something
share
that
stuff.
somebody finds
interesting
awesome.
conversations, you know, deep conversations,
We may or may not have some of the world's best chocolate chip cookies coming tonight.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I think it's coming our way.
Just taking a quick moment here to allow the rest of the Fun Awesome team to reflect on the awesomeness of Brian's cookies. Here's just a few reflections.
Oh my goodness, these cookies are so amazing. To me, Brian's cookies, they have the kind of care and craft in them, like his UI UX design.
What do you think about Brian's cookies?
I imagine that if there's a cookie in heaven, this is it.
All right, Kelsey, so what do you think of Brian's chocolate chip cookie?
They taste like what I imagine heaven is like.
They're soft, gooey, warm, and absolutely delicious.
You need to wear your sweatpants. And, you know, that 1 or 2 cigar a year, I save them for the snuggles.
Oh, yeah.
You know, sometimes we'll have a celebratory bottle of alcohol, of spirits. And all these kind of little tiny things we do. We play games. We play D&D games. We've had one that's been ongoing for, at this point, years. That only happens at the Snuggle. Like we each have D&D characters that are special for just this Snuggle game. And yeah, we do those things just purely fun, and it's just we're hanging out with friends at that point.
Yeah.
We eat good, we have fun, we reconnect, we rebuild, and
it's the place
amazing,
too where
but exhausting.
We make up for a lot of the water cooler stuff that we miss, right? We make up for those shared experiences on a daily basis. We try to make up for that, a lot of that here, and compare. And I'm so excited that we got together, that we got to get together right now.
Oh, it's been awesome. I think what you said, Travis, about like it's exhausting in a sense. I was actually talking to somebody else about this, where it's like I come prepared to. I mean, I'm an introvert, so I need the times to. I have to find like the right balance to where I'm not completely taxed by the end of the day, but I also push myself where it's like this connection time's really good. Right. So I'm going to push myself to that limit a little bit, just to where I'm not completely wiped out. I mean, I go home feeling kind of tired, but filled up at the same time, where it's like I made the most of that time to connect with folks, and you hit the ground feeling goodwill towards the other person and the other folks that you work with, and you're ready to work hard and build something great, and you feel like you're connected, and it's a great time.
I mean, I'm an extrovert.
Yeah.
And I am exhausted.
Yeah, everybody's exhausted.
It is right. And so we have, we've got, normal working days, 9 to 4:30 or 8:30 to 4:30 or whatever we end up doing for the Snuggle. And then 2 of the nights, so people come in on Sunday. So Sunday's a travel day, and then they fly back out on Friday. That's a travel day. So we've got 4 days in the middle there for the actual Snuggle. 2 of the nights we have, where we expect everybody to be there hanging out 2 of the nights. And we've got 2 nights that are in some ways kind of like recovery nights.
Right.
And so just because of that, right, we also know that there's an amount that is a lot. So we try to figure that balance out too.
Yeah, it's good times.
So clearly, the Snuggle is about as serious as its name. And yet, the effect is that it helps build goodwill and trust among the Fawn Awesome team so we can work together better. While the remote work versus in-office work debate will likely continue, Fawn Awesome has found a way to make the best of both worlds. And once you start working remote, you may never want to go back to the office again.
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to go back to a all the time in the office situation.
This is lead programmer Mike Wilkerson.
And it seems silly in retrospect that was ever not just a requirement, but a sort of a management bias that if people are going to really get their work done, they're going to be here in the office. I think about how many hours I spent commuting when I would get on a bus at a park and ride, and then ride to downtown Seattle, and then I would work, and then there would be a lunch break at some point, and then I would have to navigate the bus system to get back home. And I'm just thinking, I don't know, was there 2 hours a day that was just going back and forth? And I tried to use the time on the bus, productively for, myself reading, or I did some songwriting on those bus rides, but still, I just think of all that time. And then when you're in the office, I do think there's more interruption and that sort of thing. Well, some of those interruptions can be part of the relational, collaborative and all of that, but sometimes it's just interruption that is undermining productivity. So, working mostly remotely, I can be very productive. I work from home. But then doing some collaboration in person kind of enhances productivity because you've got that relational, just smoothness working with your collaborators. So it ends up being the best of both worlds, I think, to just have the going back and forth between remote work and occasional in-person. It would be hard to just go to the office every day. I don't know if I could ever do it again.
Thanks for listening in to Podcast Awesome. A special thank you to Dave Gandy, Travis Chase, Mike Wilkerson, and Rob Madole for coming on the show. If you like what you've heard, please give us a rating and review and share this episode with your nerd friends. This episode was produced and edited by yours truly, Matt Johnson. The Fawn Awesome theme song was composed by Ronnie Martin, and audio mastering was done by Chris Enns at Lemon Productions. And Brian, if you're listening, we don't expect the cookies every time, but we really do like them. But yeah, we don't expect it.
It's just a wonderful memory. If I never have another one again, it's still part of Font Awesome to me.
That's right.